Dr. Russ Schroeder. Today we're going to be talking about thyroid conditions because I assume that if you're on this website that you or someone you love is suffering from tiredness, depression, fatigue, headaches that wear off early in the morning, thinning hair, thinning outer eyebrows, if you have difficulty with digestion or are just constantly feeling overall worn down and a loss of motivation, then you may have hypothyroidism. Or if you have the opposite end of the spectrum, you may have a condition called hyperthyroidism, where you are jittery, have heart palpitations, have difficulty sleeping, have difficulty gaining weight despite a higher calorie diet, or insomnia in general, energy that is there when you don't need it. If you have a combination of both, you might have what is called Hashimoto's, or an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now, today I'm going to address what makes my program different and how we treat patients like this. We treat patients who have symptoms neurologically and metabolically. We treat them with functional neurology, functional endocrinology, by looking at functional blood analysis, including the different types of testing that we do, such as food sensitivity testing for gluten, milk, soy, eggs, and yeast. Because if you have a sensitivity to any of these types of foods, then you will have inflammation. And inflammation is almost guaranteed to make thyroid conditions work. Now, the thyroid gland is the controller of metabolism. It is the gas pedal for the body, and it sits just over top of the Adam's apple. Now, it is a butterfly-shaped gland that is made up of different lobes, and it puts out chemicals. Now, we're going to talk about this in just a moment, but for a minute, I want to talk to you about the different blood tests that we can do, such as a CBC, which is a complete blood count, as well as the thyroid panel. So the thyroid panel is more than just the TSH. If you've been to the doctor before, you've had TSH done, and they might have said that it's normal. We have to actually look at where it comes from. The hypothalamus is actually the main controller of, it runs the show endocrinologically. So it puts out TRH. Now, that goes down to the pituitary gland, which puts out TSH. TSH is what is commonly measured in the doctor's offices throughout the United States. Now, TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. So it goes to the thyroid, butterfly-shaped gland, and then it produces T4 and T3. T4 is the biologically inactive version of the thyroid hormone, and T3 is the biologically active version. Now, basically about 93% of the hormone put out by the thyroid gland is the inactive form of T4, and about 7% is T3. Now, these are carried by thyroid binding globulin, just like any hormone produced in the body is carried by a binding protein, if you will. Because otherwise it would be released in the area and it would all get used up by the cells in that area. So it is carried to the liver by the bloodstream. The liver then converts about 60% of the T4 into the active form of T3 so the body can use it. And then that T3 is released into the cells where it activates and turns on or turns off genes to speed up or slow down the body based on how much or how little is used. Now, another 20% is converted into the inactive form, which is reverse T3, which cannot be used by the body. Okay, so it's a fail-safe mechanism, so that if it's producing too much, it can throw it into that pathway. Now, that's about 20% that's produced, converted there. And then another 20% is produced, or transferred into the active form of T3 in the lining of the gut, which means we need healthy bacteria down here in the gut to transform T4 to T3. So if you've had a lot of antibiotics throughout the years, then that may mean that the gut flora, the good healthy microbacteria in the gut lining is not there, so it cannot convert it properly. So when we're looking at the pathways, we're not just looking at where TSH may be off, assuming that the thyroid is weak. We're looking at the entire pathway. Is the hypothalamus not producing enough serotonin or dopamine? Is it not getting converted properly in the liver because there's too much congestion going on in the liver? It can't go through glucuronidation or sulfation, which is the conversion process. Or is there not enough gut bacteria down here because everything else might be working properly, but if that 20% is not getting converted, then you might have hypothyroid symptoms. Or if we have a problem with the thyroid-binding globulin, like the metaphor that Dr. Karazian uses, in that if you have enough taxi cabs in the city, but they're not letting the passengers out, then it's going to be inactive. It's not going to be a usable form. So the blood tests that we do, the tests that we run, look at the entire pathway in order to determine if there's something wrong, not just the TSH. We can also run an adrenal stress index, an ASI, because if the adrenal glands are fatigued, that's going to throw off the pathway too. Also, more importantly, when it comes to Hashimoto's, is the immune panels, the Th1 and the Th2 balance, because the Th1 and Th2 systems of the immune system have to be in balance, otherwise we'll have a problem. And we have to support the right one at the right time. Also, we'll look at intestinal permeability. In other words, we're looking for leaky gut syndrome. If you have had a consistent diet of processed, unnatural, unhealthy foods, cakes, cookies, crackers, donuts, things like that throughout the years, then over time, not only might you have a sensitivity to it that's causing inflammation, but you also might have leaky gut syndrome. And if these molecules are getting through the leaky gut into the bloodstream, then that can create problems, further affecting the immune system and damaging, creating an overall immune response that you don't want and you don't need. Also, hormone panels. We know, based on the conversion rates in the thyroid-binding globulin, that too much or too little estrogen, too much or too little testosterone especially, can throw off the conversion rates of this overall program. So we look at the complete picture. We look at the complete person in our office. So if we find Hashimoto's, we treat the Hashimoto's. If we find that it's a blood sugar issue, we work on treating the blood sugar issue. If it's too much or too little testosterone or estrogen, we try and support that process in order to help the patient as a whole person, not just as a thyroid gland, not just as an adrenal system, or as a number, TSH. So ask yourself, what has your problem cost you in time, in family, in money, in life? Ask yourself, where are you going to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? If I were to give you the gift of helping you solve this problem, how would your life be better? If you don't solve this problem in going in that direction, how will your life get worse? After you ask yourself these questions, then at the bottom of the page here, or at the end of this DVD, call the number below, 740-454-1747. That's 454-1747. Or log on and fill out the form below, and we will send you some information that we will need to have filled out and sent back to us in order to determine if you will qualify for 2 free visits in our office. I look forward to working with you. I wish you the best. Thank you very much.